Okay, well, hi, everybody. It's good to see you back. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. At some point here, I'm going to try to share the screen again. Let's hope that it works. Okay, so basically tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to delve a little bit more into why I had you do these 3 assessments and look at people's different leadership styles. We're going to talk some about PLCs and the research. I'm going to give you some examples of some real world connections. And I do really want you guys to participate. So, please do that. And then we'll wrap it up with any questions and things like that. I also will spend some time tonight too talking to you about the group assignment because I know it's a little bit confusing, but I promise once you get into it, it's really not that difficult. So let me close out this real quick. No, okay. And let me pull up the other stuff. Okay, so that is like that. Move. I can get my Zoom meeting back. Okay. So it's going to be difficult. Where is everything that I want it to be? Okay, well, you guys, hopefully you have the PowerPoint. If you don't, don't fret about it. You can always look at it later. So the first thing I want us to kind of talk about tonight is the 3 different assessments that we have been using and why they, are used. And in particular, sorry, I so need to just not try to do this in my office anymore because nothing's working. I'll do it from home. Okay, so anyway, I want to talk to you about the 3 different assessments that we did and a little bit about their history and why I think they can be helpful and important. So in terms of the first one, True Colors. True Colors is probably the simplest of the ones that we've done, and it's actually used primarily for quick applications. So it's appropriate to use with other teachers, with groups, with students, etc. Because like I said, it's fairly simple, but it is also proven to be very accurate. It was originally designed to be a takeoff on the Myers-Briggs. So if you've ever done the Myers-Briggs assessment, then you probably know what I'm talking about. But Myers-Briggs is a little more complex, and most people cannot remember what their personality stands were with the Myers-Briggs. So it was broken down into True Colors. True Colors has seen many iterations, but the original was actually just the 4. So you can have gold, green, blue, or orange. Those are the 4 main colors. The love languages was originally designed and developed as a counseling technique for married couples. But, the more that the author and the inventor of this realized and looked, he was like, you know what, these really apply in all aspects of life. Because whether it's a marriage relationship or a parent to children relationship or even a colleague relationship, understanding how people want to receive and how they give praise is really, really important. So True Colors tells us a lot about our work styles, how we relate to others, how we view the world, how we approach different tasks and assignments. Love Languages tells us how people want to give and how they want to receive praise or recognition. Then the last one, the compass, is very similar to True Colors in that you have the 4 different directions. And some people just felt like True Colors was a little too warm and fuzzy, so they moved to the compass as sort of a new, updated, revised way to look at people's different personality traits. So thinking about the assessments and what you learned, does anybody have any idea why I made you do this? Why do you think I asked you to sit down and do these? Again, there's no wrong answer. I'm just curious.
Maybe when you were forming our groups.
Okay. Yeah, I did use it to form groups. Why else do you think it's important, or I may have wanted you to know about this?
It's good to be self-aware of your own personality and motivations.
Yeah, self-awareness, absolutely, super important. What else?
How we communicate.
Okay, yeah, how we communicate. One of the things you guys have probably figured out if you read my profile is I am an E person. I'm very global. I see the big picture. And so, you know, for me, doing some of the little monotonous sorts of things in Moodle that needs to be done is really a challenge because I'm a big picture person. I don't like to deal with details. I don't like to deal with small tasks. So yeah, it helps us to really understand ourselves, but also understand how we impact other people because of our style. Okay. Other ideas or thoughts?
Also, like when you're looking at your group members, you can kind of figure out why you get along with them a certain way or why maybe you don't always get along because you're different. And so kind of recognizing some of those characteristics in other people helps you, you know, kind of work with them better because you kind of take into consideration that, you know, they're a different personality type, but, you know, their strengths and weaknesses, y'all can play around with those and kind of put your strengths and weaknesses to good use.
Exactly. Okay.
I think
Especially
it's also
other
good
ideas?
to be mindful to know when to hold back sometimes because I'm very, you know, outgoing and extroverted, and some people, my teammates are not, and so sometimes I have to pull in the reins and say, you know, chill out a little bit.
Yeah, excellent. Good point, Anne-Marie. Thank you.
Can you see our comments when we do the group chat?
I'm not
typing?
seeing them right now, but let me see. And I don't know why I'm not, because normally I do. That's a really good question. Why am I not seeing them? Let me click on something. Now I see all of y'all. That's awesome. Where's my chat? It has like disappeared since last semester. Huh. Okay. Well, let me try one more thing. No, that just moved all of y'all around. That didn't help. Yeah, I may have to.
Look on the bottom. Look on the bottom and click that ... more and see.
Yeah,
if you
I
can
am in it. There, it finally opened. Okay. Okay, yeah, Taylor, exactly. These traits are essential for an effective development of PLCs. Yeah, you guys are right on track. One of the things that's really important, particularly if you are ever in a position where you get to create or form a PLC, or if you wanted to be able to give input, say to your principal or a department chair or team leader, you cannot have an effective PLC if you have all the same personality types. So if you have a bunch of people who are East and Green, you know, so they like the global, they're very into data and all of that, you will never get anything done. If you have a group that's all golds, nobody can, but they won't set a vision. They're just going to keep working, but they're working towards who knows what. If you have a group with all blues, you know, the blues are very emotional, and I don't mean that in a negative, but they're really in tune with each other's feelings. So everybody will feel great in the meetings, but again, you're not going to accomplish the kind of work that you need to. Then your oranges are those people who just, let's do it. So, you know, to me, they're always the ones that, like, if you need a party planned, man, they are the go-to people. Because they will get it done. They're not going to look at the data. They're not going to worry about the details. But if you say, I need this by tomorrow, they're going to just jump in and do it. So in an ideal PLC to be most effective, you're going to have a balance of those 4 personality types. You need the greens or the East so that they can help set the vision. Because they're going to require you, they're the ones that sometimes come across as negative in meetings because they will ask lots and lots of questions. Okay, but again, they just need data. It's not that they're opposed, but they're great to have when you're starting a new project because they're going to be like, but what about this? They're going to think about all those barriers and things that could get in your way. Golds are absolutely essential because they are your detail people. They're the ones who are going to make sure that all, you know, the action plan is laid out and every little piece has been thought about or taken care of. You do need your oranges because if you just leave it to the golds and the greens, they'll stay in vision setting and creating work plans and never actually move to actual action. So they are really important with that. And then it is important to have your blues because they give you the pulse on everybody else. So they're the ones that are going to come to the meeting and say, you know, people are really worried that we're talking about, I don't know, what's one of the big controversies I've dealt with in schools? Moving recess before lunch in elementary school. That was a huge deal in 2 of my schools when I was an assistant superintendent. And, you know, they'd done all the right things. They had a PLC. They were researching it. They were looking at recommendations. But everybody in the school was freaking out about it. And it was only the Blues who came to those meetings and said, hey, everybody's really concerned and they're getting upset. It's, you know, disrupting us and all of those kind of things. So it is really, really critical, as I've said, to make sure you have all personality types. Now, if you don't have all personality types, that creates another whole issue. So what do you think you would do if you realize in your meeting, because I see somebody typed here, certain people I work with immediately come to mind. Yeah, it doesn't take real long. Once you learn the traits, you will be able to spot it instantly, what people's particular styles are. So what do you do if you realize that, gosh, my PLC that I'm a part of, we don't have anybody on here who's a green or an east? What are you going to do? How do you handle that?
Maybe reach out.
The first step is just being aware of that reality,
Yeah.
and understand that certain viewpoint could be lacking from the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Joseph, you're absolutely right. First of all, you have to realize it, and a lot of people don't, and they wonder why they can't get a particular group moving forward. So yeah, realization is most critical. Okay.
And ideally, I think you would want to structure with some intentionality with some of your activities to make sure that you were ensuring that someone has to be a timekeeper, someone has to be a this, so we make sure we don't sit here all day long just talking about a vision.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim, you're right. You can assign particular roles and responsibilities, much like you would do with cooperative learning as a teacher, that helps to keep you on track and moving along. Excellent. What else? Any other ideas? Well, you know, we're not all just one thing. So we know that all of us are made up of many different traits. So, you know, you may want to look to that person who is, let's say in my example, you know, we're missing a green person, but you've got somebody who's, you know, maybe their first is gold, but right behind that is green. So, you know, you can intentionally work with that person to bring out that trait. You know, it's really important that we understand that, like I said, we're not all one thing. There are pieces of that to all of us, and we can absolutely, you know, ask the right questions or put them in the right role or responsibility, and they will step up. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, cool. Taylor, I didn't know that was a part of JROTC either. That's awesome. Okay. Good. So yeah, I hope you guys have chats too. There's some really good ones. Okay. All right. So my next question for you guys is, hang on, I'm trying to move this around where I can still see y'all and not miss the chats. There we go. So I guess my next question to you is, if we know that these assessments help us to do that, how might you use that as a part of a PLC?
To start off planning.
Yeah, start off with planning, okay? How else?
For me, it helps me understand where people are coming from too. So that way, like, I think it's really cool to do it like at the very beginning of when you started working together. So that way you know it from the get-go. And kind of when someone does something that's unexpected, you kind of know where they're from and that's part of their personality, instead of just like, wait, that's weird and I don't want to deal with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, you know, to give you a real life example, when I was a high school principal, we had done True Colors, and we decided that we had actually done all three. We did True Colors, Love Languages, and we didn't use Compass. We used a different one. But then we had put, you know, outside everybody's classroom door or office door, you know, a sheet of paper that had their name, their universities, or their degrees, and all that. But then we also listed what their primary True Color was, what their primary love language was, etc. Then on our ID badges, because we were required to wear them every day, we put a colored dot with primary True Color. And I will tell you, as a principal, but, you know, my teachers as well, it really, really helped me that, you know, the joke around my school was that I had no blue in me at all. It was like non-existent because I am a very straightforward kind of person. Let's just take care of stuff. It helped me to remember who my really emotionally driven, very sensitive teachers were. So instead of just going and saying, hey, why didn't you blah, 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 I really had time to kind of go, oh gosh, Sharon is a really blue person. So instead of just saying, why didn't you show up for duty yesterday? I'd go and say, hey, I noticed you weren't there yesterday. That's so not like you. Is everything okay? And just completely change the tone. And it worked really well for us. So after a while, we decided we would do it with all of our students too. So all of our students went through true colors, and that same thing, they had the little tag on their badge. And it was really funny because my students picked up on all of our little quirks and our personality types through this much faster than my teachers ever did. So my kids realized, because I am very green, that I like data and analysis, that if they wanted something from me as a principal, for example, the best one I think was they wanted to start a new club. They came with a notebook with research and data and a plan and a budget and all that. And I look at it, I'm like, absolutely, you can do this. But the kids figured out real quickly how to use that information to better serve what they were requesting. So it really, really does help tremendously. And be public about it. If you're sitting in a PLC, it is sometimes hard to remember, okay, gosh, they're what now? You kind of know, but if you want to be sure, make it very visible and spend some time talking about it. Did anybody do any additional research and find out some of the more negative traits about some of the colors? Because they're really kind of funny. Okay, I'll pull some of them up while we're talking here. So let me see. Because some of the
one with the compass assessment, it didn't really shock me. I think I'm kind of like you, that I'm really data centric.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I got chosen to do the job I'm doing. It's like my principal's a really good talker, and he's really good at empathizing with people. And it's not that I'm terrible at that, but my focus is numbers and spreadsheets, and I'll give myself a headache every day looking at stuff. But sometimes I can take that too far, and I got to be reminded, hey, look at a human element to this right now, and think about stories behind it. But we're able to provide a good balance for each other. But yeah, I can definitely get way too far off of the theoretical.
Yeah, and like I said too, people that are very analytical in that sense, we get really, really bogged down, and there always has to be more information.
Yeah,
Michelle, what were you going to say? Michelle, were you going to say something?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought
I was just nodding. I was agreeing.
Okay, well, let's go back and let me give you some information on some of these. So think about your own color. So we'll start first with blue. Blue is sensitive, sincere, appreciative, artistic, inspirational, spiritual, inclusive. They're mediators, peacemakers, idealistic, intuitive, romantic, loyal, caretakers, cooperative, collaborative, creative, caring, team builders, people persons. So their negative traits, though, because we all have them, include lack of planning. They tend to be passive. They like to avoid conflict. They suppress problems. They can be overly sentimental and overly generous. So if you are a blue person, I want you to think about those positive as well as your more negative traits. Some popular or well-known blue personalities include Gandhi, Muhammad Ali, Jimmy Carter, and Beethoven. So you're in good company. Okay, so for my green friends, you are inventive, self-sufficient, persistent, intellectual, inquisitive, impartial, accurate, careful, systemic, logical, and theoretical. So pat yourselves on the back. You have all these wonderful traits. Let's see. Their negatives are they don't like routine. They hate small talk. Plagiarism is a huge deal to them. They can't stand incompetence. They hate to argue without sense or reason, and they hate to attend to social activities. They also tend to irritate others because they have an inability to accept criticism. I see some of you laughing. Criticism, an inability to be sociable. They can be too wordy. They can be too independent. They have a mind of their own, and they're most likely to not go with the flow. So this is the people that absolutely hate cocktail parties and small talk. I'm one of them. You're in company with Benjamin Franklin, Eleanor Roosevelt, Albert Einstein, and Aristotle. So it's good company there. Okay, let's talk about let's see which one comes up next in this little thing here. Okay, let's go to our oranges. These are our action-oriented, quick-witted, charming, spontaneous, playful, risk takers. They're creative. They are multitaskers, cheerful, energetic, bold, quick. They like to act. They're performers, problem solvers, negotiators, and they're very resilient. Some of their negative traits, though, some more too. They're life of the party. They love adventure, extremes, movement, and they desire freedom. What they don't like are their negative traits. They hate rules. They hate laws. They hate routines, deadlines, paperwork, too much structure, and a lack of, they really hate any activity that there's an absence of adventure. But their charisma and quick wit keeps them oftentimes out of trouble. Famous orange personalities: Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy, Francis of Assisi, and Amelia Earhart. Okay, so now our last group are golds. So you guys are in great company too. Okay, our golds are obedient, elegant, faithful, dependable, efficient, practical, systemic, orderly, thorough, sensible, conventional, proper, stable, organized, punctual, and helpful. Okay, they love what is right and proper. They don't like irresponsible or undisciplined people who lack planning, laze about, take great risks. They are rule followers, and they have a really hard time with people involved in illegal activities. These personalities do not go well with orange personalities in particular. Some of their more negative traits include being bossy, control freaks, people who work long hours. They can be obsessive, judgmental, and they plan for everything. We definitely still need them because of their systemic approach and high consideration for work before play and family, and their esteemed parent image of other personalities. So some of the famous golds include Mother Teresa, George Washington, Henry Ford, and Florence Nightingale. So, what have you noticed about knowing your personality now and working with others? You know, tell me from your perspective. You know, let's start first with gold. If you're a gold person, what are those things that other personality types just do that they just drive you insane?
Data. Okay. I'm so appreciative of somebody who can sit and look at all that. I want someone to figure all that out for me and then tell me what that means for me. But data just makes my eyes go crossed.
Yeah, call Joseph. He'll be more than happy to help you.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. What else drives you crazy if you're a gold?
You were talking about gold hating orange people. I immediately thought of my sister because she hates the rules and we don't get along too well. So I think that rings true for sure.
Okay, good. Anybody else? I read the comments too. Yeah. So Nadia, I don't like it when people are late. Yeah, both control freaks. Yeah. Okay.
I have a really hard time with the rule follower part.
Yeah.
I'm a major rule follower. Like, it freaks me out if I'm not. But then, like, data, I don't mind as much. I think I'm a very math-oriented person, so that part is, like, fascinating to me.
Okay, yeah.
But rule follower is major.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is really hard for golds when people don't follow the rules. And a way you can pick out golds, have you ever been in a staff development and they're having you do some kind of an activity where, everybody has to get up and move and they're like, okay, here's what you're going to do first and here's the rules. And some people just go and start and they don't listen to the rules and all that. Drives the golds crazy. That
drives everybody
stressed. You can just see them, like their heads are just like, no, we have to wait. We can't start. They didn't say start yet. So rule following is really important to them. And think about as a teacher in a classroom. If you're a very gold teacher, most of your kids are not going to be gold. Because it can be a real challenge.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Okay, my greens. What is it that other colors do that just drives you insane?
Well, they don't follow the rules, and they have they're just, I don't know, they're just sporadic. Like I do, yes, I'm spontaneous and I love to have fun, but at the same time, we need structure.
Okay.
We need some structure.
Yeah. Structure is important. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Let me hear from some more greens.
It also goes back to that, making sure that we're all being heard and we're all being valued in the discussion. So if one person takes over all the discussion, then we want to hear from everyone. We want to get input. We want to make get as much social and emotional information as we can.
Yeah, and I will tell you, greens oftentimes ignore the rules. They're the ones greens have the brain that never shuts off. So no matter where they are, what they're doing, the brain is going because they're thinking about, well, this, and what if this happened, and what if that happened? And so they can really, they can be a gold's worst enemy. They often think out loud. So, like Jim was saying, they will tend to take over a conversation or a meeting or something like that. And they can be impulsive. Okay. Anybody else greens, things that drive you crazy? Okay, what about my oranges? What do other colors do that really drive you crazy?
My husband drives me crazy because he can't make a decision. He analyzes everything to death.
Okay, then he is definitely a green. He is definitely a green, and yeah, for an orange, because you're like, come on, let's just do it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I bet he does your taxes, right?
No, I do all that kind of stuff because I get it done fast.
Oh, okay. Okay. He would be looking for a million ways.
I'm great at math. I could just get stuff done quickly. He has to think about it and talk about it and analyze it and research it and just decide already.
Yep, absolutely. So in a meeting, if you're an orange, you really have to take a step back sometimes to give the greens time to process and to think it through, but at the same time, don't let them take the whole meeting. You're going to have to really kind of jump in and go, okay, it's time to make a decision. Okay? Who else?
I know I specifically get bored really easily with just simple repetitive tasks over and over again. So whenever you were talking about, and whenever I was reading over it, it's just needs kind of different stimulation and gets bored easily. That's me to a T. So when it's something like a meeting and people just keep harping on the same thing over and over again, I'm definitely let's just cut it and move on. And same thing with just anything, paperwork, grading paper. I mean, that stuff's so difficult for me to do. It's almost like I have to kind of gamify things a little bit. So I have to put a carrot on the end of the stick for myself to get through things so I can finish up and move on to whatever else I need to.
Yeah, orange comes from that passionate, red kind of blood color. And so, it is very hard for an orange to sit through a dull or repetitive kind of meeting. They're the people who do great. And, if you've ever heard of the 10-minute quick meeting or touch, what's it called? Touch point meeting. Oranges thrive in those. Greens, they're still trying to figure out what everybody's talking about by the time the meeting's over. But oranges love those quick kinds of things. Okay. All right, my blues who love everybody and want everybody to be happy. What drives you crazy about other colors?
Insensitivity.
Yeah.
absolutely hate it. I teach at a high school level, and discipline is a little bit different there. So you, of course, everything is organized accordingly. But when they start just off top yelling at people, I'm like, that's so unnecessary. There's another way you can handle it. I'm always that person that's trying to find a different way to do it. I also hate when you get off topic for no reason. I hate dull meetings. I can't stand grown people who enforce rules for kids all day and can't follow them themselves.
Right.
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, Taylor, that's a great point, particularly when you're working with teenagers. A green or a gold or, even an orange person, they tend to forget, that there is always there's more than one side to every story. And that if you would approach kids with just a different mindset, you could actually teach them something about discipline as opposed to just punishing them. Our Blues also believe very strongly in social justice. They are the ones who are very, very sensitive, to unfairness or inequity, inequality, that kind of stuff. So they are really, really important, particularly in the life of a school. You're going to be tuned in to the kids, to the parents, all of those kind of things, where others, we may just not. So blue is really important. Okay. Any other blues out there that want to share?
I'm a blue orange.
Okay.
But one thing that drives me crazy is that I like to have a lot of freedom. I really value that authenticity as a teacher. And sometimes I feel like that green personality is so focused on the numbers that it kind of just boxes me in. And I get like kind of like this anxiety, like, no, just let me be free. Let me teach what I want. And it's kind of like, why do I have to look at all these numbers and all these charts? Like, why can't we talk about children and what they need? Definitely that like feeling generates basically everything that I'm thinking. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Blues crave, and they will, particularly if they're in a leadership role, they will bring balance and harmony. And oftentimes blues are considered or sometimes frowned down upon or looked down upon by other colors as weak or, too mushy or, whatever. But in reality, they're very, very strong people. It's just that they care a great deal about how everything is perceived. So, to me, you've all heard the expression, perception is reality. They are the ones to go to. And I will tell you, when I was a principal, I didn't have a lot of blues. So my communications person, she was very good at that. And she would literally sit by me in meetings. And we had signals that if I was starting to come across and I wasn't being very sensitive or I wasn't really listening, I'd get the signal. And if I got really bad, she literally would kick me under the table. Just to keep me on track because, it wasn't that I didn't care, but the way I was talking, it sounded like I didn't care at all. But, we have to balance all of those pieces. So, when you're thinking about working in a PLC, if you're in one right now, I would encourage you to use 1, 2, or 3 of these. If you really want to see somebody, all 3 of them give you a great picture. But use these as a tool early on in your PLC or at some point so that you understand the dynamics of the group. And, you may need to bring somebody in. If you don't have anybody blue in your group, you need to find somebody that's going to come to those meetings and help balance that out. When I was an assistant superintendent in Dallas, one of the things I was in charge of was orientation and training for all of our new principals. And in a district the size of Dallas, we hired one year almost 80 new principals. So it was quite a group. And we decided that it would be a fun thing to do to start our first session with them was to do the personalities and have them talk about them and all of that. And I almost died when we did this and we found out we had not one single blue new principal. Everybody was either orange, green, or gold. And what it told us was there was something in our hiring practices, our interviewing and all of that we were not valuing that part of a principal's leadership set. And quite frankly, we revamped our entire hiring process after that because you can't have there's something wrong when you're only hiring a certain type of principal, because again, whether it's a principal in a school or a teacher in the classroom, every situation is different. And there's some schools I needed a blue personality at to run, because it was a place that had maybe some issues, and they really needed someone who was sensitive to those. So like I said, it has a lot of different applications and a lot of different implications, but for a PLC, knowing this information can really help you. Let's talk for just a minute about love languages. Okay, so love languages are the way that they are used primarily in the workplace is how people want to receive or give recognition. So we tend to give recognition based on our own personal love language, but that doesn't always match what other people want. So for example, my love language is physical. My top one is physical touch, followed very closely behind with words of affirmation. So I'm one that, if you did something great, or, I'm just, whatever, I'm going to come up and give you a big hug. Well, not everybody likes that. And I remember as a young principal, I would spend hours every night writing personal notes to teachers. And some of them loved it. They posted them on their boards. They kept them, taped up or whatever. Some of them threw them away, and I was crushed. Well, it finally dawned on me that's not how everybody wanted to be recognized. So, for example, some people really like public recognition. They want you to recognize them in the faculty meeting or in the PLC. Others are like, please don't ever recognize me. Some of my teachers, if they'd done a great job, they wanted us to cover their lunch for them so they could have 30 minutes, completely free. That, we give them their 30-minute duty free, and then we cover another 30 minutes. So they could actually leave campus and go have a real lunch, kind of thing. So tell me, if you're someone who your top love language is physical touch, how do you see that playing into the PLC? Let's start there. Oh, Joseph, I'm sorry, I just read your comment. That's funny. Okay, so if you're a physical touch person, how do you, you've just done something amazing. You just got the top results for everybody on your team or in your class or in your school. How do you want to be recognized?
I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't want to be recognized in a big group or at the faculty meeting. I'm more kind of set back. I would rather them just, pull me to the side and tell me that I'm doing a great job and, pat me on the back. And I'm good with that. Because my love language is physical touch.
Yeah.
And like quality time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of reserved. I really don't want everybody to know.
Okay, yeah.
More of a modest.
Yeah, you're great with the high five in the hall, the pat on the back.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. If you're a quality time person, what do you really want?
I want to know that my time is valued.
Okay.
That, they're appreciative of my time and considerate of my time, not wasting it. So quality time, stuff that I'm doing at school that takes away from things I'm doing with my family. So I like them to be, respectful of that. And then in turn, I like to be respectful of other people's time.
Yeah, one of the things, too, to think about with quality time, these are the people, you may know them, as a team. Let's say you're the team leader. This is, a teacher who loves quality time, wants to have one-on-one time with just you for 30 or 45 minutes or even an hour. That's really, really important to them. And no matter how busy you are, if you don't give them that, and you try to kind of push them off, they're going to be very hurt by it. And that's particularly true, guys, if you move into the assistant principalship or the principalship. I had to figure out pretty quickly who my quality time people were. They weren't okay with the hallway conversation. It's like, I need your time. And, I'm like, I have an open door policy. It doesn't work with quality time people. They need to set an appointment so you can block a full hour for them. Because the 10-minute does not work, or even 15. So it is important to understand that, particularly if you're in a leadership role, but even as a colleague. You know that colleague, when they come in your room, you're like, oh, I love them, but gosh, I was hoping to get out of here today before 7 o'clock. And they're going to keep you. We have a professor here who's a quality time person, and I love him. I see your hot, I don't want to say too much. We do have several males. I love him to death, but when he comes in my office, I know you just shut everything else off because it's going to be a good hour conversation with
Is it Dr. Perry?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, because I'm like, I'm sorry. I've had like several classes with him and his emails. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
He's funny. Anyway, sorry, random.
Yeah, that's okay, Julie. Yeah, but yeah, you probably have seen an archetype for quality time. Hey, what about acts of service? What do you guys want?
I want another piano. Another banana.
Well, whoever's child that is, will you let them have a banana, please?
Sorry.
That's fine. Is that you guys saw me the other night with my grandkids. I understand. Life goes on.
Well,
Okay, so what were we doing? What was it? Acts of service?
Yes, I'm a person that's split between acts of service and quality time, which makes me conflicted often because I want to spend quality time with people, but I'm also wanting to be doing things. And sometimes I don't want the doing to be interrupted by unnecessary conversation. So I'm the team leader. I get there early. I get them set up. But then if someone comes in the room and wants to spend a little quality time, it's going to interrupt me trying to do for them, like getting schedules out. And so I get really conflicted there.
Yeah. And people, like we talked about with acts of service, the giving a teachers an extra 30 minutes for lunch, or, Jim, you would probably just be elated if somebody on your team would come in and say, you know what, I'm going to prepare all the documents that we need or all the data or whatever this week. You'd be like, yes, thank you. Because that would be really, really meaningful to you. So, acts of service, anytime you do something for somebody else, if that is their love language, it really, you've hit a home run. So that is important. Okay, so for the sake of time, what about gifts? What do you guys want? Anybody go with gifts? I know somebody had to have gifts this year. Well, one of the things that you might want to do if you're leading PLC, or like I said, if you're in an administrative role, what we would do is we would have monthly or weekly celebrations, and we would give everybody at the beginning of the year a sheet that said, when you are being celebrated, do you want, and then we had a list of options. Do you want a 30-minute duty-free lunch? Do you want for us to come in and teach your class for, a period or a half a day or whatever? Would you rather get, a certificate and be recognized and, celebrated at the faculty meeting? Would you prefer that I just give you a, coupon $50 at the district service center where you can go buy supplies? But we tried to go by every love language and come up with multiple options, and then the teachers chose that, and they could always come back and change it. So when we would do our monthly celebrations, we would try to hit on those very particular things. And you learn a lot over the years. I'm doing this. I was in the principalship for 16 years. And I remember I had a wonderful, wonderful assistant principal. She was great. But we were really struggling with people getting their grades in on time. So I'll go back to what I think Taylor said. She hates it that we have adults who expect kids to follow rules and they don't follow them. But then, we had a slew of teachers who never got their grades in on time. So she started putting a cookie in everybody's box that did them on time. Well, we got a little bit of a boost, but you know what? It didn't really change anything because not everybody cared about that little gift. Some people are like, I don't like cookies anyway, or so what, or, whatever. So that's when we decided we had to really differentiate, just like we do for kids. We had to differentiate the way that we were treating our teachers. So, this can be really helpful to you and can do a lot. And, even if you're not leading a PLC, but as a team member, sometimes modeling works as well for adults as it does for kids. So if you step in and start showing and sharing some of these things, it might be really, really beneficial. Okay? All right, so the last 15 minutes or so, let's talk for a second, and I'm going to try to share my screen again. Let's see if this works. Oh, please. Okay, let me pull you guys down. Okay, so let me find, where did I put it? Let me go over to the middle. Okay, so we are in Module 2. All right, so for your group assignments, let's talk about, so have you been able to connect with everybody in your group so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say something funny. One of the groups has Bob Doe in it. Bob Doe is a fictional student. And I forgot to tell you guys that when he got thrown into a group because it's an auto group thing. But I do that so I can be Bob Doe and then go in and see what y'all are seeing as a student. But, and even in my grade book, I put crazy things like Bob got a 0 because Bob did, Bob's a faker and all this stuff. Anyway, so yeah, if Bob Doe's in your group, he's not going to respond. I'm just telling you now. Okay. So I need to just take him out for this. All right, so let's look first at the assignment. Okay, where's it going to go? Come on, computer. Hang on, I'm trying to figure out where it just opened. Oh, here it is. Let me move it over here. Okay. And screen. Which one am I sharing? Right here. Okay. So let's look at the actual assignment here. So with your group, you have 2 choices for assignments. You can either do a PowerPoint or you can record a video. With this, whether you do the PLC or the video, and you can read the particular standards, basically you're going to be answering 6 questions. So what is the purpose? How are they defined? How and why should they be used in schools? Which standards can we address through a PLC? And you can be pretty generic if you want to. What type or kind of PLC would be most effective? So you can give me a specific example if you want, or you can be very global. It's fine either way. And then how are we going to make sure that the PLC that you decide upon is able to ensure that a standard is met? Okay? So with that, let's switch over and look at, let's see if I can do this easily. So I'm going to stop sharing that. Let me go back to good old Moodle here. And the crosswalk. Okay. And then, sorry guys, my computer's being a little bit slow tonight. Open, open, open. Like I'm that person on that, what is that, a Target commercial around Christmas, on the door. Open, open, open. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Nope. Well, shoot, I really need to show you the crosswalk. That one's important. Okay, let me try one more thing here. Shut down all this. Go back here. Open. Okay, here we go. Now let me share again. Okay, so this looks like a crazy, ridiculously complicated assignment. It is not. Don't make it harder than it is, okay? So what you have here is you're going to just simply list the group members' names. Then you're going to identify, so you're really going to kind of work on this backwards, okay? So you may want to decide, and I've given you 2 examples. So you may decide that, you know what, we want to choose a national standard. So the standard that was chosen in this case is from SLC Standard 1. Or you could say, you know what, we'd really rather choose a state standard. So this is one from Louisiana's Learning Standards. So it's Louisiana LS-E-A6. So once you look at that standard, so you'd have to be looking at one of the standards documents, which is posted for you in the Documents and Resources folder, and you're going to break it apart. Now, it doesn't work exactly, sometimes, but, you guys are smart, intelligent graduate students, so I know you can figure it out. So, let's look at Standard 1 from ISSLC, okay? Let me see if it actually will open up here. Yeah, it will. Yay. Maybe. Well, maybe not. Oh, no, it didn't open up. Sorry. Let me close that back out. Okay. Did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Sorry, guys. Click the wrong thing and everything goes wrong all of a sudden. Come on. Y'all have to tell me if you can still see this.
Yes.
Did it disappear?
Still see your
I
screen.
see a white screen now.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Hang on. My computer, let me stop sharing for a second.
I tried to open those little blue links at home, and I couldn't do it either.
Yeah, I think unfortunately you're going to have to go directly to the actual document. And if I can ever get this to open up again, I can show you what I'm talking about. Hang on. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the policy here, and then I'll share the screen again. Okay, so we're going to go to this one. Okay, so this is from the ISSLC, and let's just find a standard here. Can you go? Hang on, sorry, it's taking a minute to load. Okay, I know it says draft, but okay, so Standard 1. So what you're going to do with Standard 1 is you're going to look at it, and Standard 1 says, education leaders build a shared vision of student academic success and well-being. Okay, so there's your standard. Then it goes on to describe it a little bit more. Education leaders build consensus among stakeholders of what students should know and do as a consequence of their participation, etc. Okay? So once you look at that, let's see here if I can get this to open back up. I'm trying really hard not to lose the wrong things. Okay. So when you look at the crosswalk document, if it'll open, I'm going to stop sharing again. Sorry, it just takes forever for this stuff to upload. There it is. Okay, let me share it again. So, from ISSLC Standard 1, you're going to decide what is the verb. Okay, so in this case, it's facilitate, and it may be more, it may be an actual phrase, but it's basically facilitating the development, articulation, implementation, and stewardship. What are the adjectives? So, it's kind of like you're doing a, I don't know, like an English activity almost. Then the object of it is going to be, so basically you're just taking that standard and breaking it down. So if you've ever learned how to unpack a standard, I know many schools use that thing. If you are familiar with the work of Margaret Kilgo, it's the same kind of thing. You're breaking it down so that it makes sense. So in this case, what's the important part of the standard? The verbs: facilitating, articulating, implementing. How are you going to do it? Through sharing and support. What are you sharing and supporting? A vision of learning. So once you understand what that standard is telling you to do, you have to come up with what type of PLC is going to be able to address that standard. So in this case, if you're looking at a vision of learning, it's probably best done by maybe an instructional team. And how are they going to do this? What kind of activity is the PLC going to do? They're going to do vision and mission development. Okay? There are a million different types of PLCs that could do this. It could be a district team. It could be an administrator team. It could be a teacher team. It could even be a community group, like a site-based decision-making group. But the whole idea is, and please don't get too hung up on, well, what's a verb, what's an adjective, what's an object. The idea is I want you to get to the meat of the standard, okay? And then decide what type of PLC should address it and what activity are they going to do. You don't have to make up the activity or, spell it out. I mean, literally, this is all you write. That's it. So the second example is from Louisiana. This is a learning standard, and this one's pretty simple. This is from science, and I believe it's elementary, maybe kinder. So students, what's the verb? And you can tell what the standard is just by reading this. They're going to classify various foods into major groups. Okay, so who might do this? Well, maybe the kindergarten team. And what are they going to do in their PLC? They're going to design a unit that teaches kids how to classify various foods into the major groups. That's it. Okay? So it, like I said, it looks complicated, but it's really not. It's just a matter of breaking down the standard into the critical pieces that need to be addressed, what kind of a PLC will do it, and then what is an activity that they might do in one of their meetings that will help to address this. Okay? Clear as mud, right?
Could you address Julie's question in the chat? She asked about.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah. Let me make you guys bigger again, because when I share my screen, it makes you like all disappear practically. So give me 1 second here. Hang on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That makes life easier. There we go. Okay, let me get back to chat. There we go. Hang on, it's taking a second. There it goes. Okay.
It might be a dumb question.
No, there are no dumb questions. Yeah, you're going to do 2 standards from SSLC, 2 from SLLA, 2 from MBPTA, and 2 from the Louisiana Leader Teacher Standards. So you're going to do a total of, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Plus the 4.
I'm sorry,
plus
what?
The 4. Plus the 4 from the state?
No, I think they're loaded into Moodle. Let me get back to. You go to the module 2 and you look under Documents and Resources folder. Mm-hmm. You're going to find the I keep saying it wrong, ILSC standards. You're going to find the Louisiana standards for leaders and teachers. You can do 1 from each, or you can just do 2 from one of them. That's fine. Then you're going to find the standards for SLLA and the National Board for Teachers. Okay? So at the end, you should have a total of 8 standards and 8 PLC types and 8 PLC activities.
Okay.
Okay. And then, part of that you'll address in your PowerPoint or your video as well to answer those.
So the PowerPoint's going to address the standards, and there may be a slide per standard.
If you want to, yeah. And like I've had students do 1 standard per slide. I've had them group them. I've had them list them all on 1 slide. It's fine, really, however y'all want to do it. Like I said, I don't get too caught up on format for these kind of things, because guys, the whole intent behind this activity and this particular assignment, one of the things that you'll read, if you've read a little bit ahead, that the report talks about is the main purpose behind a PLC is to focus on student learning. And how do you focus on student learning if you don't know what your curriculum is? And if you don't know what your curriculum is, how do you know you're addressing the standards? And if you don't address the standards, how can kids be successful on, standardized tests? So a very critical part of PLC work is alignment between curriculum, instruction, and assessment, because that all goes to how effective we are with helping students to learn. And if you've never unpacked a standard, or you don't know how to do this, or if you're a principal or an AP and you don't know how to lead this, this is a tool that you can use to help a PLC really get into those standards. Because unfortunately, too many people, they just kind of read them, and and then they wonder why their students don't do well. Well, standards can have as many as 5 or 6 different verbs or actions. So it's not a matter of, and I'll use a very simplistic example, but students need to know how to add 1-digit numbers. Well, they also not only need to know how to add them. If you read the actual standard, it's going to say they need to know how to add them. They need to know how to, to name each one of the parts, what's an add-in. They need to understand the symbols and the signs. There's so many pieces to it. But if all we do is teach one part of a standard, that's why our kids don't do well. So like I said, this is just a tool that I want you to play around with. It's not like a life or death sort of assignment, but something that gives you at least a sense of how this could be done. Okay? Now, you don't need to follow those directions. I've made it way simpler. And yes, the gold people hate the fact that I changed the rules. I'll go back and I'll revise the assignment as soon as we're done. Yeah, you don't have to do 4 student state standards now. A total of 8. I'll fix that right as soon as we're done. Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, I wanted to commend you guys too. Y'all are doing great on your assignments. And I just turned on Module 3 for you. There are no textbook summaries. You can cheer in front of me. I won't take it personally. All you have to do is to do the readings, and then you're going to answer a question in 1 paragraph or less. If you give me 2 paragraphs, I'm going to fail you. Okay, so keep it simple. I want you to spend some time with your groups and just to allow you guys to kind of get caught up. Okay?
Yay!
Yay!
Oh, am I on? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was muted.
No, that's okay. Like I said, I don't take offense to cheering. It's all good. Okay, anything else before we close it out?
Do this journal entry that's listed at the end of the PowerPoint that you posted?
Yeah, journal entries are optional. A lot of people take notes, and and if you do take notes or whatever, of course, when you get to the final exam, these are the kinds of things that we've talked about in our Zoom meetings, the PowerPoints, etc., that are going to be on the final. So if you do keep journals or notes, I don't care. It doesn't have to be anything formal. If you want to turn those in to me, I do give extra credit on the final exam for them. But I really think you guys will be fine on the final exam. But, like I said, it's not a requirement. It is just an optional way to earn some extra credit. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to turn off the recording.